was at least interesting.
Yeah, no, you're good. Yeah.
Yep. It 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 was especially weird because like I was really trying to be friends with them because they also made YouTube channels.
All
Sorry,
right.
YouTube videos.
We're talking
Yeah.
about because of the YouTube thingy.
And I was talking to them because of that, and they're in their early 20s, and that was around the time that I started really like doing a lot of stuff. I was really making music, and I was like getting myself out there working on a project. So it got close to home, and I related to them. I was just like, "Hey, let's talk about this shit." I'm trying to get back into making like art, and I like the idea of making like BGM for like videos for myself if I ever was to make another YouTube video. So if you ever need music for your stuff, hey, maybe we can arrange something, and that's kind of how we bonded, sort of, like that, and added them to my server, hanging out a lot, playing games, hanging on voice chat. And learning a lot about their personal life, and then them also kind of just like what ended up being basically them just lying to me the whole time, basically a
Whoops.
fabrication of the person that they are, to the point that they sent me a picture of who they apparently are, which was unsolicited. I don't need anyone to show me what they look like, but they
Sending you a selfie right now. No, I'm just kidding.
but like sending like a picture, it was like, yeah, and I was like, oh man, you look like a slim like surfer dude, and I don't know if that was a fake picture, but it wasn't an up-to-date picture, because then it was not too long before they showed up, and then they show up, and they were incredibly overweight. Not that I would judge. I relate to that as well. I I used to weigh a lot more.
It's more like question, why did you send me this picture?
Why would you? And then they were like, "Oh, actually, I won't. I weighed more back then on that picture." It was just like, "No, you fucking didn't." What the fuck?
Yeah.
But yeah, just so many. It was 3 days of me basically like, this is my first time helping someone. I was kind of struggling not to make excuses. And my wife was basically constantly just like, "Babe, I don't know about this." And like every day there was something new, and then day 3 was the line.
Yeah.
It was just like yeah.
Not gonna lie, kind of impressing that he made such a bad impression that in 3 days.
Yep.
Like Jesus Christ.
Like if you are homeless, or if I was homeless and someone invited me over to their house, gave me a room, gave me like a blanket, a nice bed, and I used their toilet, I wouldn't leave piss on their fucking toilet seat twice in a row. Like, it's things like that. And when then someone came to me and said, like, and being extremely nice, being extremely polite, because I was trying really hard not to make them feel uncomfortable, because I knew they had some mental issues, sort of mostly in anxiety and things like that. And then you do that thing where you don't even make eye contact, and you don't even make a single sound, and you don't really engage. When I'm like, "Hey, could you try to, watch out for that in the future?" Had to kind of clean that up. Like I was like, yeah, I don't know about that, and just this continuous thing where you're not even remotely making an effort to kind of be like self-aware of like the situation that you're in. I don't know. It was a very strange week for me. And once all that was over, I was like heading to my friends on my server, and many of them were like, "Yeah, that motherfucker gave me a lot of bad advice. I'm gonna be real." And I got like 8 responses of people like, "Yep, I wasn't sure about that one." I was like, "All right, I get it." I was like the only person that I guess tolerated it.
Why the fuck didn't they say anything before?
No, I think there was I think it was mostly just sort of like getting like odd vibes, sort of like, in a way that like you don't want to be rude, so you just don't say anything, but maybe you already know that you don't really care for that person. That sort of thing.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think it was also just that like it was like multiple instances of someone getting like a single vibe and then going like, it's probably fine, and then nobody talking about it to each other, you know.
Yeah.
And I guess one of my friends basically then in DM told me that was one of the kindest things someone said to me, being like that was still like amazing that you did that for someone. It's a really kind thing to do. And because it was kind of a very difficult thing for me, it was a really shit day when I had to kick someone out of the house. It was on an emotional level. I had to kind of get over that a little bit. That's how I got Penny's Big Breakaway. I got it as a gift, and that's why I've been playing it a lot.
Nice.
Yeah. So yeah, it was a silver lining. Got a cool video game.
True. That's all
Yeah.
that matters, dude.
So yeah, I would like to say one more time that don't worry, I'm not a weirdo. I may have helped a weirdo out, but I'm not. I'm a normal person.
I mean, I have. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was gonna say like I didn't hear anything to like
No,
suggest.
I mean like just in general. I don't know. I kind of just I say that mostly just because I think both me and my wife kind of just noticed just like with every night that we laid down in bed, kind of observing this person just look at each other, being like, you know, I think we're all right. I think we're doing okay in terms of like being an adult that knows what they're doing. I think we should give ourselves a bit more credit. So that's kind of where I was coming from when I said, yeah, don't worry, I'm normal.
Yeah.
Very, very, very ordinary person.
I'm surrounded by these weirdos. Thank God I'm the only normal one. Kind of vibes.
I talk about Mario 64 too much to be normal. Talk too much about that game. Big fucking walls of text about fucking bullshit.
I mean, we have two people who have made video essays just yapping about Mario 64. So.
That's still better than bothering people in a Discord text chat all day.
No, so who was it? Was it you that talked about Dragon's Dogma?
Oh, I sure did.
Yeah. At least I was kind enough to let you like go wild on a thread.
Yeah, I was like, oh hell yeah! And, like you were kind of trying to tell me, like, hey, just don't clog up the chat. Now, chat. I was like, fuck yeah, I got a threat. Let's go.
Yeah. And I think so. Just so you know, Liam actually read the thread, and
Damn.
he kind of like agrees with a lot of it. I believe he read it back in the day when you like actually wrote it. But since he recently played the game, I asked him about it, and I asked him if he read what you had said, and we were like, "Oh yeah, I read that, and this is so interesting." Blah 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 yada, and he was agreeing with a lot of the stuff you were saying. You said,
yeah, I think like what I should have really, if I could have taken that entire thread and made like a big red colored frame around it, and then in red text, you know, to kind of embody the text that embodies the frame, saying best 7 out of 10 game ever made.
True.
So that, but with the emphasis on the 7 out of 10 to really be like, I'm not gassing this up to be like an underappreciated 10 out of 10 must play. But goddamn, there's some shit here. You know, like
especially not underappreciated when that game has been gassed by like everybody nowadays.
Yeah, I mean the sequel really helps, and it's really where I was going at, like what I was going. Sorry, where I was coming from when I was like, if the sequel looks cool, and the $70 price tag scares you, the game's $5 right now. You might drop it a third or halfway through, but if you then played that and I told you, now imagine all the things that make you drop the game are probably not in the sequel. There you go. There's your pitch. There's your fucking pitch on why the sequel is going to be worth your time. But I love Dragon's Dogma. I played it for the first time just like 2 months ago, and fuck, I put like 100 hours into it. I really just have like a certain patience for fucking weird jank and just like some games that just are weirdly unpolished in weird ways. But fuck, is it fascinating?
I really want to.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't say.
Fuck. When you said that, oh yeah, Liam read your text was like, oh god, oh shit, it's nuts and bolts all over again.
No, he appreciated it,
It's
or
gonna
at
fucking
least
play
agreed
it and
with
be
it.
like, man, this dude only recommends garbage.
I mean, he did play it. Like Liam played it, and I don't
I trust that
know.
he did.
I don't. I don't know if you saw in what is Liam playing when he posted about Dragon's Dogma, and he absolutely loved the ideas of the game and the game to an extent, and but he obviously saw that it has like a shit ton of issues. But he loved what was in there.
Yeah, it's
He saw it. What you were talking about, he saw it.
that's fucking sick. I'm
Yep.
just glad that that's kind of where I'm looking at it. Like I try to be self-aware about the parasocial thing, and I tell myself that that's not really what it is, but it's really just like the idea that like someone whose sort of like personal sort of taste in games I get exposed to so much, it brings the questions. I wonder if they would like this, and it's just so satisfying when they just explore it, and then just you're just like, oh, look at that, cool. It's just a really satisfying feeling when someone like Liam just, it's why it's why I'm so interested in him at least like playing Link is Adventureful, which is the name of that remake of Zelda 2. And just like I was just like, fuck, it would be interesting to see what he would think.
I think that's completely fine. Like parasocial relationships, as unhealthy as they are a natural response to the mechanics that go into watching somebody's opinion for so many years. Parasocial relationships didn't start with YouTube. Like people had articles in columns in newspaper, and that started parasocial relationships with avid weekly readers.
Oh,
Yeah, go ahead.
I know a perfect example of that, though I don't know if there's an equivalent in any sort of like like any of like the countries that you guys live in. One of them being America, I guess. It's weird to say because I live in America now, so whatever. In Germany, we had this like teen magazine, and there would be a page or two dedicated to like, all right, everyone, you teenagers, let's talk about all the weird things you're experiencing right now. And then there would be there would be a character, a professor something something that you could mail to and ask questions anonymously, and they would like respond to you so that you could ask if it's possible to get pregnant if someone comes in the pool of water you're in. It's some weird shit like that.
That's a classic. Right? I've read that one.
Yeah. But like, and I remember at the time, like, you would like definitely hear, like, if you were that age, people would talk about that person in a way that you could hear some people like having a parasocial relationship with this professor, this magazine character that takes care of all the teenagers that are feeling weird and have questions.
Oh yeah,
I can
totally.
see that.
And like seeing your question answers in the magazine. Oh god, you're like famous now.
Yeah, right. well, it's anonymous, but it makes you feel so good.
Exactly. Right? And that is like pitch perfect a parasocial relationship.
Yeah. Fuck that shit.
So it is natural. So my point is that it is completely normal to feel that way about anybody. For some people, Vine Sauce, then Liam. For me, it's Simple Flips. The thing about it,
so cool.
Shout outs to Simple Flips. The thing is knowing to manage that kind of thing, which I've learned being a Liam mod, because Liam was that starstruck moment that like the only reason I applied to be a mod, I had never been a mod, and the only reason I applied is because it was the Liam tries, and I'm like, this motherfucker on chat, I've gone past it. and I think that's the healthier mindset. But I wouldn't fault anybody for not getting past it.
There are people on YouTube right now that are super famous that had parasocial relationships with other YouTubers.
True. No.
You
That
know
is
how I know that?
100%.
Because I used to make music for a couple of YouTubers because I was starting out and I was like, let me just cover their opening song with my guitar and put drums on it.
Yeah.
And make like a cover of it. And I sent it to a couple of people. One was the Completionist and the other was Jontron. Both
Oh
of
my
them ended up
God.
putting my remix in their videos, by the way.
Yeah.
Which I'm not a fan of JonTron as a person anymore. I'd rather not associate with him.
Yeah, no, those two are very
But
unfortunate.
this was a very long time ago.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah.
But yeah, it was the Birdemic video. That's where my thing is. I at the time I was like 19, so I was very naive, and also just because of my personal upbringing, I think I just kind of like didn't understand what the fuck parasocial anything is.
Yeah.
And I was definitely a little weird, a little pushy, and a little sort of like, all right, just because this dude responded and took your song doesn't mean you have to be friends with him. And
Yep.
I don't remember how I found out. I think another guy, his name was Zanman something, and he made like videos. It was like skits, and it was really funny. And I did the same thing with him where I sent him like a track, and he was super cool and actually added me on Skype and was like, yo, let's talk about this shit. I fucking love your shit. And then we talked, and eventually I was in a call with him, and he talked about, he was like from like the same area that John was from, and he apparently was friends with him and would tell me, and we would talk about how like he was like very close friends with him. And we would end up talking about what happened there, and I was just like, man, I do kind of like, I feel a little embarrassed about some stuff. And he literally told me that John used to fucking send tons of fucking fan mail and shit like that to Smosh because he was super parasocial with Smosh.
Yeah.
He would literally be obsessed with them and do that with them, and I still remember that.
Oh yeah, that is completely like I engage a lot with VTubers, and like I don't know if you know what the concept of an Oshi is.
I sure do.
Yeah. So when your Oshi has an Oshi, you understand that everybody falls for parasocial relationships.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
This guy.
I have on my server I have a channel for VTubers where people talk about their favorite VTubers, and I just changed it to Oshis.
Nice.
So people talk about their Oshis.
That is so
I don't
funny.
engage with it because I don't fuck with VTubers. I just don't. It's just,
But you know about it. Yeah.
Yeah. I actually, I don't even dislike them. It's just I never really engage with it.
No, that is completely fair. That is most people in the server actually. Yeah. I'm the only like VTuber guy.
The only one that I got like kind of into for a bit, I think, was before the whole HoloLive thing happened, which was I think Kizuna AI or Kizuna AI.
Oh, Kizuna AI, she
was like one of the first ones, and I thought, wow, look at this. I was like, look at this. You could watch this like Japanese lady playing to Mario Odyssey, and you could see her like reacted to it. It felt like a window into a different culture playing a game I like. And I was, which I guess it's kind of just the idea of V2 is why it's so fascinating. But yeah, I have nothing against it.
Again, like most people in the server are the same way as you. Like, I don't have anything against it, but I don't watch it and I don't see the appeal, and that's completely fine.
I thought you said earlier that you're obsessed with VTubers.
I really
must have misheard it.
I engage a lot with it. I am the VTuber guy, so most people in the server don't care for them, but they're very respectful about VTuber
rigs. I think the idea of VTuber rigs, like just the technology is cool. Like being able to use that.
Oh, the technology is fascinating.
Yeah.
Also, it's a godsend for adding personality to a stream without having to show your face. So privacy has never been more powerful.
I was thinking about that too, because like VTubers are kind of like it's like a renaissance of female streamers who can do the shit and not worry about their privacy, which, you know, is obviously a big problem for a lot of like any female content creators online. Harassments in general, sort of like unsolicited treatment. Yeah, and that's cool. If you're a cartoon character, you don't have to worry about any of that shit.
Exactly.
People make fucking, because they do, unfortunately, but if people make porn of you're the streamer, they're making porn of the character, not the person.
Yeah. And even there's some VTubers who even get uncomfortable about that. But still, but even then, it's like 10 times less than if it were your actual person, you know?
I'm a bit weirded out on the
your
fact that like some of them play into it really hard, almost like it feels like it's a PR scheme to play into it.
While I agree, then people would turn around and say, "Oh, but Amaranth is fine."
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you know?
That's true. That's true.
And it's like, okay, then what's the difference? That one is a VTuber, then I would say the fake one is even like less bad because there's like a friction there with it not being real versus Amaranth, who actually is real, a real woman objectifying herself.
I think for me, for a time, I think I've gotten over that. So I'm not even like on that hill anymore. But at the time, it felt like it was impossible to hear or see VTuber clips, and it wasn't them playing into it. Like it was like constantly the only like sort of more innocent like depiction was like with Corona with the Ecom Bokum shit. But otherwise it was constantly just sort of like character, like these girls talking about apparently, oh, my tail is a butt plug and shit like that. And it's like, just goddamn. Like, and it was like all I ever heard about it. It's just like, is that just what the VTuber thing is now? Just Coomer shit? Like,
I think YouTube. I also think YouTube is very like keen on showing that, especially like clips and stuff, because obviously it gets a bunch of clicks, where it's not necessarily proportional to the actual amount of VTubers who engage in that.
Absolutely. And that's kind of where I'm at right now, because it's really easy. It's really easy to think that something is a certain way because the algorithm makes it seem that way.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, to kind of go back to like the parasocial thing, like with like Liam. I think for me, I don't often think about it nowadays, but I think it was like a while ago, even years ago, I would like look at like the people that I would like be subscribed to on YouTube. Matthew Matoses is a big one, but like generally like big channels, and the thought of, fuck, wouldn't it be cool to just have a conversation with that guy, you know, sort of like, hey, if, you know, like not like sort of, man, I want to be friends with him, I want to be friends so bad, but like being able to hang out and just the person that is constantly talking about things that you find interesting, to have the conversation and being able to talk back and have it back and forth. That's like a very profound feeling that I relate to. So like, that's why I thought it was really cool when I was like sitting in here, and then Liam would show up and it'd be like, you know, I always wanted to ask you this, and there I got my response. It was like, oh, that's cool. Right? It doesn't have to go much further than that, but it's a very fun like thing to be able to do.
No, yeah, and also to like not completely related, but something you like kind of mentioned there. Obviously, you're right in the way that that it's unhealthy to think like, oh, it'd be good if I was his friend or whatever. Because one, that's cringe, and two, that's unhealthy. But also there is also like we have to recognize that feeling something is natural. You know, like you might feel that you would make good friends with somebody, but as long as you recognize that that is just not only a guess, but an uneducated guess based on what you see of that person online, I think it's completely fine to like feel that, as long as you recognize that it's unreasonable and you obviously never act on it or even think about acting on it.
Yeah. It's I think that in itself, I think is a really interesting thing, like a dilemma online nowadays, because like in the age of Discord, where people can just kind of like talk to anyone, and you can be on a voice chat, and there would be so many people with different sort of interests that you can like hang out with. The concept of having friends, of having a circle of people you surround yourself with. I, for example, I've noticed that a lot. That I mean, obviously, I have my own friends. I love talking to. Love hanging out with them. But there's always that sort of feeling of just like the friends that you have many times will not share some of the interests that you have, or at least you express yourself in a way that they don't, and so certain conversations you couldn't have with them. So then there is that sort of thing, which I wonder if that's a dilemma for people, because I wouldn't know that. Okay, but then there is that person on YouTube that you found where you feel like, holy shit, this guy gets it. This guy looks at this shit exactly how I do. And then I wonder how many people were just like, I wish I had more friends like this person that I could talk to about this shit. And how many people like sort of like, that's where the parasocial sort of like element comes in, where the best example of this is that nobody has IRL friends anymore. And there are YouTube shows of friends hanging out IRL and playing games, and wishing that you had that. Because that's one that I really struggled with like years ago, where I felt like, holy shit, I wish I could have like friends that I could hang out in a place and have my own only place with, just offline. You know, like, and I bet there's so many people who get really fucking depressed thinking about that shit.
Oh, totally. I totally see it.
Mm-hmm. That's, I guess, where like, you know, the whole idea of just like the internet is not made for human beings. Like, I mean, it is, but also just like the way that we live now is so different from how people used to live. It doesn't help that like it's become harder and harder in the last like 100 years to have like IRL relationships with people, but now we don't ever think about that anymore. Most people don't, because you can just fucking do that shit online. And yeah, it's all this stuff that like hasn't been happening for long enough, and people don't fucking think about that shit. People don't think about the traps that you fall into.
Yeah.
Sorry if I'm talking too much, first and foremost.
As long as you let other people talk, there's no issue.
Yeah, I have ADHD. I have oversharing problems.
I swear to God, half this server has ADHD. I swear. Like, every time I'm on PC and somebody says like, "Oh, by the way, I'm sorry if this and that. I have ADHD." I'm like, "Yes, I know, because you're in the server."
but in my case, it's not just that I just say it because I have symptoms. I'm like properly diagnosed and shit.
I mean, no, yeah, like the people I'm talking about is people who have like proper ADHD. It's not like, oh, excuse my ADHD. They like stop me and say, by the way, if I this and that, I'm sorry, it's not my fault. I have, or they don't say it's not my fault. They're like, I don't mean to. I have ADHD. I'm like, yeah, of course you do.
The reason
Which is
why
not to make fun of you, by the way, at all.
Oh no, absolutely not. Don't worry about it. But the reason why I said that, by the way, is because I can actually think of several people that I know IRL that I've had like conversations with, like taking it like the benefit of the doubt, and they would say like, "Oh yeah, I totally have OCD," or "I totally have this," and I was like, "Oh damn." Like, do you like take meds for that? And it's like, oh, I'm not like diagnosed. And it's just like, oh, okay. Like, I'm actually surprised how many people I've talked to IRL that
who
I basically was
self-diagnosed.
just like, I start to basically nowadays be like, I wonder if you actually have it or if you just think you have it, which online is even easier for people to kind of just mask themselves with it. And I don't want to, I don't like the idea of like punishing good actors by assuming everyone's a bad actor. I'm not like that, but
No, yeah,
it's,
but I
yeah, it's sometimes it's at least a bit of a thought, but I try not to like let it make me judge people before I, you know, and
yeah, and I totally get it. Like if I were to tell you that I have ADD, you would totally buy it, even though I have nothing diagnosed at all.
or as we call it now, inattentive ADHD.
I have no clue what inattentive ADHD is.
It's
ADD.
what used to be called ADD. It was
Okay.
yeah. Yeah.
I see. See, I had no clue. The only thing
Yeah.
I've ever been diagnosed with was a depressive episode for like a long time. Not like clinical depression, but like
Yeah.
trauma created depressive episode.
Was
And
it
that's
called psychosomatic? Is that the word?
I don't remember if my therapist used psychosomatic, but that sounds about right.
I
So
think
you're
that's the
probably
term
right.
that is used for like it's not that you were born with it, it's that it was caused in an event in your life. It was trauma related.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah.
And I got out of it eventually. So it's not like or like genetical or however you want to say
Mm-hmm.
it.
Yeah.
It's because of
Another
a situation that happened.
Yeah. Another way to have psychosomatic, like anything, is if you're like me and you got diagnosed at a very early age in the 90s in Germany somewhere, and your parents didn't know what the fuck to do, and you got the opposite of treatment. You got negative treatment. And
Oh yeah.
nowadays, people tell me I'm in my 30s now, and I'm in America, and I really want to get diagnosed again because my symptoms are way different now. I'm like, people tell me like that I do crazy OCD shit. I do things that like I feel like that's not even ADHD anymore. So I really want to get diagnosed again. And
Yeah.
maybe I'm boring and it's still ADHD, but like I would really like to know for sure.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yes. It's more like the other way around. It's that autism usually also comes with ADHD. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.